Imagine being a young bride in ancient Rome, standing inside a crowded house while family members whisper and prepare you for a wedding that feels less like a modern celebration and more like a mysterious ritual filled with strange customs. Because Roman marriage was not only about love, but about control, family alliances, fertility, and the survival of the household. And for many girls, this moment arrived very early in life, because Roman brides were often only around 14 years old, while the groom could be much older. And before the ceremony even began, the bride had to go through a series of traditions meant to transform her from a girl into a wife. Starting with her clothing and hair, because Roman brides wore a simple white tunic, but over their head they placed a bright orange veil called the flammeum that glowed like fire in the sunlight. And Romans believed this color scared away jealous spirits who might try to ruin the marriage. And then came one of the most unusual parts of the preparation, when the bride's hair was divided into 6 parts using the sharp point of a spear rather than a comb. Because Romans believed the spear symbolized strength and reminded the bride that marriage was connected to the ancient warrior past of Rome. And after this, the bride's waist was tied with a belt secured with the famous Knot of Hercules, a symbol of strength, fertility, and protection. And this knot was tied tightly because only the groom was allowed to untie it later that night, which symbolized the beginning of their new life together. And when the ceremony ended and the feast began, guests laughed and drank wine while musicians played. But everyone knew that one of the strangest parts of the wedding was still coming, because Roman weddings ended with a dramatic moment where the bride was taken from her family home. And instead of leaving calmly, the bride pretended to resist, while the groom symbolically took her away, which looked almost like a staged kidnapping. And this strange custom came from an ancient Roman story about the Sabine women, when early Romans kidnapped wives to build their city. And after this dramatic moment, the bride was escorted through the dark streets in a torchlit procession, with friends, relatives, and musicians following behind, while people shouted the ancient wedding cry, Talassio. And 3 young boys carried burning torches made from hawthorn wood, because Romans believed the smoke protected the couple from evil spirits that might follow them. And when the procession finally reached the groom's house, the bride faced another ritual at the doorway, because she was not allowed to walk across the threshold by herself, and instead she was lifted and carried inside, because Romans believed that if she stumbled, it would be a terrible sign for the future of the marriage. And once inside, the bride touched fire and water, which symbolized the life of the household, because fire represented the hearth where the family gathered, and water represented purity and new beginnings. And then guests continued joking, singing, and teasing the couple while throwing nuts around the room, because nuts were considered children's toys, and throwing them away symbolized the groom leaving childhood behind and becoming a man responsible for a family. And as the night went on, friends would sometimes make playful jokes about the wedding night, because everyone knew the final ritual was about to take place, when the groom would untie the Knot of Hercules from the bride's belt, which symbolized the start of their married life, and the hope that the marriage would produce many children to continue the family line. And to modern eyes, many of these customs seem strange, even uncomfortable. But to the Romans, they were deeply meaningful traditions designed to protect the couple from bad luck, guide them into their new roles, and make sure the marriage began under the watchful eyes of family, society, and the gods. Because in ancient Rome, marriage was never simply a private promise between 2 people, but a powerful social ritual meant to secure the future of the household and strengthen the city itself. And every torch, every knot, every shouted phrase, and every symbolic action was believed to help guide the bride and groom safely from their old lives into a new life together, in a world where people believed unseen forces were always watching, and the only protection was the traditions passed down from the past.